Hello everyone, welcome back to Piedra Designs. This week I've got a piece of Juniper mounted up here. Right now it's roughly 9.5 to 10 inches, but there's quite a few spots here. We may not end up being able to get it finished out at that size. I'm hoping to leave it as big as possible, but with some of this stuff, it may not work out according to plan. There are some pretty good cracks in here, and Juniper being a lot like cedar, very, very brittle and easy to split. I've went ahead and put some CA glue in a bunch of these cracks just to kind of try to stabilize everything right off the bat. And then, as you can see, we've got quite a bit of sapwood still on what's going to be the bottom of the bowl. But I want to have this be heartwood as much as possible. So to start off with, I'm going to try to get it down close to round. I'm not going to worry about it getting it perfectly round yet, because I want to take a bunch of this sapwood off the bottom here. So we'll work a little bit on getting it close to round, and then we'll work on getting some of that sapwood off, and then I'll have to take it off the lathe and knock a bunch of that. I guess it'll be kind of forming a tenon to start with, but that won't be the final tenon. Anyways, you'll see as we're going along. I don't know if I'm explaining what I want to do good enough. I do just have this mounted up with a step center and a ring center, and I've got it pretty balanced in here. I'm able to start this turning at about 850. Okay, I think we can call that good. For that, I'm going to take this off the lathe now and cut this big tenon off, and then we'll start over and finish getting it rounded out, get the tenon formed, get our outside shape. I am finding some more cracks in here. I know you guys can't see them from that angle, but I've got a few cracks down here and getting a little more exposure on some of these original cracks. So I will get some CA glue in there. All right, so we got that first sacrificial tenon knocked off of there. Gonna put a little more CA glue in some of these cracks, just using Star Bond super thin. Okay, we will give that glue a few minutes to dry up, and then we will see if I can get this mounted back up roughly close to where it was. Okay, so we got the CA glue dried up. We got it mounted back up on the lathe, and I've got it fairly close to where it originally was. I am still able to turn at about 850. All right, I think we've got down, just got one or two little spots here, but as we finalize the shape, that will get better. I'm gonna put some more CA glue now in these cracks that are relatively close to our final shape. Try and keep them stabilized so we don't lose any big chunks now. We'll come back as soon as I've got the CA glue in there and given that a little time to cure out. All right, I think I'm gonna try doing a little bit of inlay. I haven't decided yet if I want to use just some mica powders or if I want to use crushed up reconstituted stone. But some of these cracks are pretty good in there, and I'm afraid once we start hollowing that those are going to break out. So I'm going to sand this up just real rough right now, just with the probably just 80 grit, and then I don't know, I guess I'll have to make a decision then for sure whether I'm going to use mica powders or a reconstituted stone. But let's get that sanded up a little bit. All right, I guess there's nothing for it now but to decide what I'm going to put in here and get it put in. We'll come back as soon as I have that figured out. Okay, so when I was adding the CA glue into all the cracks, I was getting quite a lot of it in there, and as we got down to this final shape, some of the cracks were absolutely completely filled with the CA. So I took this off and I went over to Dad's house and I used his little air-powered grinder to grind out some of the CA because I wanted to, inlay something into the cracks. And just in the couple hours since I've been home, some more cracks have appeared. So they aren't going to be ground out and their inlay isn't going to be as much, but I have decided we're just going to go ahead and use the mica powder, and we're going to put true blue in there. So while on these new cracks that have developed just since I ground out the other cracks, obviously that crack isn't going to be as wide as where I've ground it out. we're gonna go ahead and go with it. I can't stop and run over there every time a new crack appears on this. We've just got to get with it and get this done. Because we've got some of the pith of the logs still in here, I'm going to go ahead and mark this and not waste mica powder trying to fill in these cracks way up here where it's gonna go away, because we don't want the pith of the log in the rim of our bowl. So we will worry about filling everything in below that. Put this rag over here to help protect from getting CA glue on the bed of the lathe. That mica powder is so fine that when I get it packed in there and then go to put the thin CA on it, the thin CA is just wanting to run over the mica powder. I think I'm going to switch to medium and try putting the medium into the crack first and then press the mica powder into that. We'll give that a few minutes to dry up. We'll spin her back up here and see what we get. Alright, looks like that was doing better than I thought it was going to on those spots here where I was using the thin, but there are a couple of voids. I'm going to go back over everything, do that again, and get it cut back and ready for sanding. Alright, so apparently I forgot to turn the camera on when I started sanding. I have gone over this a couple of times and filled in the voids, but then between doing that and sanding and filling in voids and sanding, I've got down all the way into some of the spots that I had initially just applied the super glue without anything. So I've got a couple of spots like that that don't have any glue in them. But at this point, I'm not gonna go back and grind those out again. So we're sanded up to 320. I'm gonna clean it off with some denatured alcohol and we'll get some sanding sealer on it. This sanding sealer is just the store-bought shellac cut down about 50-50 with some denatured alcohol. Alright, got 2 coats sanding sealer on there. It's dried up now. Time for our abrasive paste. And that's looking pretty good, so we'll move on to the polish and restoring paste. Time to get this thing turned around, mounted up in the chuck, and get to hollowing. think it's time to sharpen up again and get my depth gauge set because I'm starting to get close to where I want to be. Well, looks like I'm at depth, but I've got a little spot. Need to try to clean out a little bit right through about there. All right, I'm gonna get that sanded up. Won't make you guys watch that. Just gonna sand my sand to 80 grit first and get kind of the tool marks out of there, and then see where gonna possibly need to do a little bit of inlay on that again. All right, so after sanding that up, I just went to 120 on the inside, just trying to see what we had. And again, I ran into some of the spots from the initial application of CA glue to the blank, where down here in the deepest portion of those cracks, I had solid CA glue with nothing, no colorant or mica powder or anything in it. So I left it on the chuck, took the chuck and everything back over to Dad's, and I ground out those cracks again. But because of what was going on here with the multiple applications and trying to get the voids filled in and getting down to, past where I had ground out and had, had the mica powder inlay, I got down back into the solid stuff, the plain CA. So because of that, and we're just going to go with a design change now here in the midst of everything. We're going to chalk this bowl up to another learning experience. Primarily that number one, with wet juniper, you've got to work fast. You can't leave it to sit. It's going to just continue to crack on you. Number two, if I'm going to do inlays like this, I need to grind that out, those cracks, a whole lot deeper so that I've got plenty of thickness to work with, trying to finalize and get everything finished off. So instead of wasting any more mica powder now, what we're going to do is just put some black CA glue on these cracks on the inside and around the couple of spots around the rim here. We aren't going to waste any more of the mica powder on this. I think I'm gonna call that good. We'll give this a little bit of time to go ahead and cure out. Then we'll come back and see if we can get that stuff finished out. See if we can have something behave right. right, so sanded up to 320 and 2 coats of sanding sealer put on. Now it's time for our abrasive paste again. If you guys can hear that jumping there, this thing's already getting out of round on me again. We got to get our polishing paste on there and get that tenon off and be done with this thing. Okay, we'll go knock the last bit of that tenon off with a chisel, get that sanded up and signed, and we'll talk about this not so great piece. All right, so we got that bowl finished up. Not really happy with this one. A lot of things going on with it. Talk about the bowl in general. Piece of Juniper. Pretty happy with the shape, the finished profile. We ended up at 8 inches in diameter, about 2 3/4 overall height, and 2 7/16 inside depth. The blank for this came out of a Juniper log that I know for sure was at least a year old when I got it, and possibly 2 years old. And then this past fall, I worked it into some bowl blanks, and they've been in the shop here since then for a couple of months. But it turns out, as I started turning this, the piece was still not completely dry. And being Juniper and very brittle, very easy to split, along with still being wet, it was causing me issues almost immediately. Then the original plan was to, where it was cracking, some of the natural cracks that were just already in it from, when I picked it up, I was going to grind those out and inlay them with some mica powder. Unfortunately, the mica powder inlay was not working real well. Part of that had to do with when I was initially putting the CA glue in to stabilize the piece in the pre-existing cracks. I got a lot in there, a lot more than I thought I was getting in there, and it built up a layer in there. So then when I went to grind out the cracks, enough so that I could actually put some mica powder in there, I didn't grind that out deep enough. And so having to do multiple layers of the mica powder, just trying to fill in voids and everything, and then turning and recutting that and sanding it, finding more voids, and repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. I got back down into some of that CA glue that I hadn't previously ground out. So there's the outside. When I got the inside hollowed out, and of course there was still some cracks going on there, and this big long black one is the corresponding of the mica powder, I decided I wasn't going to waste any more mica powder and just went ahead and put the black CA glue in there. I did take this and grind these out again, but then as I started trying to finish that and discovering just how much harder that CA glue is versus the Juniper wood, which technically is classified as a softwood, it's an evergreen tree. Quite honestly, I kind of gave up on it. I don't know if I can get it close enough here for you guys to see, but I do have a couple of spots in the black CA that should have been filled in a little bit better They should have had another application. So there was some voids in there. When I was sanding, I don't know if I can get this where you can see it. I wasn't paying close enough attention, and I've still got some 80 grit scratch marks in the bottom of this. So this bowl isn't ever going to go anywhere other than here at the house. It is still a functional bowl. I don't know, the wife can put some apples or bananas or something in there. But I did learn some things. I learned if I am going to do some inlay, I need to grind out things deep enough that I've got room to apply, cut back and sand, apply, cut back, without running into previous attempts at just stabilizing the piece before I turn it. I gotta slow down and take a little bit more time. So as far as the bowl in and of itself, I like the bowl, I like the shape. As far as all the inlay attempts on that, sorry guys, I dropped the ball on this one. Just did not turn out good. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe or follow. Give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.